Hello everyone, welcome to StudyIQ English. Let's talk about the classic ethical debate between infrastructure development on the one side and environment protection on the other. A key topic not just from GS paper 3, biodiversity, ecology protection, but also from GS paper 4, because you will see multiple case studies which are 20 marks each in the GS paper 4 which give you exactly such dilemmas. Whether we need to protect biodiversity completely or we can allow for infrastructural growth as an exception, but making sure that we do not harm the wildlife, animals or plants or the tribal population living nearby in a major way. And in the past, we have looked into the Great Nicobar Island controversy as India is introducing the mega transshipment project there in order to improve its footprint in the Indo-Pacific area, in the Indian Ocean area, very close to monitoring the Strait of Malacca. We have seen how this has become a very big debate because there are the local tribals like Champignes, Nicobari, who are saying that they will face a risk of displacement. At the same time, there are multiple vulnerable to endangered species of wildlife who will face a threat of extinction, severe coral bleaching and environmental pollution in case the project starts in full scale. But the work has apparently already started. So these are certain controversies which today make us talk about a unique case study coming from the state of Karnataka. What has happened? Now, the Karnataka High Court has today stopped any construction work on the Sharavati hydroelectric project. Why? Due to serious environmental concern, highlighting the conflict between development, that is, our need to invest in clean energy, renewable energy. It could be solar energy parks, it could be wind turbines, it could be hydropower projects, and now as India has signed up for the Shanti Bill, we might also invest more and more land into creating small modular reactors, thorium saltwater reactors, because now private companies can maintain nuclear power plants. But all these are important because we need to achieve zero carbon by 2070. At the same time, this is a conflict because we also need to protect our environment. Can you tell me in the comment box which fundamental duty in Indian Constitution talks about your duty to protect your heritage, natural heritage like forest, river and other parts of environment? Can you tell me in the comment box quickly? We have spoken about it very recently. Okay, now coming back to this controversy over the Sharavati river. Now Sharavati river is a 128 kilometers long river in Karnataka. It originates in the Western Ghats and it flows to the Arabian Sea. It is very famous for landmark, things like the Jog Falls, one of the highest waterfalls that we know about, an excellent touristic destination, a place that's full of biodiversity, so it's known for Jog Falls. It is also known for its Lingana Makki reservoir. And now we are talking about what's the controversy here. You can see on the map right here. Yes, the river Sharavati here, the Jog Falls here. We have also heard about the Jersopa Falls. All these are coming from the same region. Now the Karnataka High Court says it's not allowed and it is now prohibiting any construction work. Why? There has been a petition, a case filed by environmentalists against this ongoing project on River Sharavati. Why like that? Because River Sharavati pumped storage project has been making controversy. It's a project proposed by Karnataka Power Corporation Limited, KPCL, located right on Sharavati River Valley, right in the heart of Western Ghats. Now, talking about Western Ghats, we cannot forget about the biodiversity, about the semi-evergreen and evergreen tropical forest here. We cannot forget that very recently, it was in 2025 November, that a report came from IUCN, International Union for Conservation of Nature, a body that's headquartered in Switzerland, Gland, which also is famous for its red list on various endangered and vulnerable flora and fauna. The same body had pointed that in India, there are about 2 to 3 areas that are very vulnerable to climate change, global warming and degradation. One was Western Ghats. Of course, the other two was Trans-Himalaya, Sundarban, but the main was Western Ghats. And now this project is nestled in the Western Ghats. It's a massive project, about 2000 megawatt of clean energy. Hydro energy will be envisaged through this project. Now we must also therefore understand that these are the need of the day, as India is now trying to fulfill its nationally determined contribution of reducing carbon emission by 45% of its GDP by 2030. We know that India is a country that is severely trying to either privatize the nuclear segment, or India is trying to now procure more critical minerals, because all these are used in electronic vehicles. They are used in wind energy turbine sintered magnets. We are doing everything it takes to achieve zero carbon emission by 2070. And India also has showcased the need for Carbon Climate Finance Fund. The TFFF, Tropical Forest Forever Facility in COP30 Summit in Belém, Brazil, then how can we not create infrastructure to achieve renewable energy? We must do that. But it becomes a concern because we can also not ignore environmental footfall of that. Now, why is the project important? Why? Because zero carbon is a very crucial goal. It meets peak electricity demand. It promotes clean energy, that's a non-fossil fuel energy by 2030. We must stay, put to achieving a sustainable development goal. For example, why does India say today that we need 100 gigawatts of nuclear power by 2047? Because right now, if you look at India's entire energy landscape, only about 8% comes from nuclear energy. 3%, that's about 8 gigawatts in fact. We can say it in gigawatts, which is very less. We have missed previous goals also. So now we need to achieve it at any cost. So definitely hydroelectricity is the cleanest form of electricity that we can envisage here. Remember how we have already spoken about states like Arunachal, Meghalaya, Uttarakhand, where we are experimenting with run-of-the-river projects. That means using natural course of the river without much construction of dam or reservoir. So here in this case also the intention is to get clean energy. In 2025, we did achieve a major milestone, by the way. It was about May and June 25, where today, if you look at India's entire energy supply, 50% of it is already coming from non-fossil fuel. But the problem is still we are heavily dependent on coal, heavily dependent on fossil fuel, because there is always the grid emission factor. There is always the lack of sufficient storage when it comes to renewable energy and the expensive price of things like solar and nuclear energy. So therefore, hydro energy is the best natural solution, and that's why the project was being constructed. But now people are opposing it. Why? Because Western Ghats is an area that's ecologically sensitive. It's teeming with biodiversity which needs utmost protection. And hence, people say that inside this region there is the Sharavati, lion-tailed macaque wildlife sanctuary. This is an area which has very, very endangered species of animals, and you can't therefore harm them by creating a hydropower project here. It leads to animal and human conflict, human-wildlife conflict. And last year, the Honorable Supreme Court had said that any episode of human-wildlife conflict is a natural disaster. So that's one aspect of it. The other, of course, is environmental pollution, concretization. So that's why people are opposing it. People say we cannot allow cutting off about 7,000 to 16,000 trees in an area of Sharavati project. We can't do that because this is Western Ghat. It means it will create a threat to endangered species. It will create a threat to this animal that's unique, endemic in this area. Plus, it will lead to forest fragmentation. Now, on the one hand, under Project Elephant, under Project Cheetah, we are trying to talk about translocation. Species translocation, we are trying to talk about how to create consolidated wildlife corridors so that wild animals can move from one area to another safely. But today, we are witnessing that such projects could lead to wildlife habitat fragmentation. That means without the ability to move from one part to the other, the natural processes of animals, including finding food or breeding or even looking for water, they all get disrupted. Eventually, it causes a risk to their life and longevity. So India loses biodiversity there. Now, what is the government concern? The forest officer's report says the project may destroy the wet evergreen forest in this area. Very important. Now, the expert panel is now trying to analyze the cost versus benefit. Is it valuable to invest in the project, or are we taking a very big risk by proceeding with this project here? And what about clearance? The project still is not receiving any clearance, which is still pending, but it must also remind you of the Aravalli mountain case controversy. Just few months before, we saw how the Aravalli range, one of the oldest mountain range in India that has its own biodiversity, it's a low-lying, degraded, denuded mountain landscape, but the government allowed mining projects, and government said anything that's below 100 meters is not even Aravalli officially, and that met with a major opposition. Ultimately, the government had to approach the Honorable Supreme Court. The Supreme Court saw so many petitions from environment enthusiasts, and then eventually an expert committee was formulated to finally map and then give the right solution. But you see cases like that, whether it's the Great Nicobar, whether it's the Aravalli mountain controversy, or whether it's here in the case of Sharavati hydroelectric project, all these highlight the delicate balance between the need for construction of infrastructure and the abject need to protect biodiversity. So the project is hung in between right now, but quickly, we must understand that the case is a grim reminder of challenge to the balance between sustainable development and ecological conservation, especially in systems that are teeming with biodiversity like your Western Ghat. So are we trying to in fact create a project which has a dangerous effect in the long term? Now this must also remind you of another village called Dhanush Kodi. I have discussed with you the broader biodiversity area of Gulf of Mannar, which has the greater flamingo sanctuary in India, and how it was facing a challenge because one experimental wind turbine was being established there. And the local people retaliated. They said that this is a unique habitat for flamingos and we cannot have an experimental wind turbine project here. So there are multiple cases in the last 1 or 2 years which can be used in your answer writing, whether it's your GS paper 4, whether it's GS paper 3, which focus on sustainable development. And now quickly, please let me know in the comment box, even before you do this question, that which SDG, which sustainable development goal talks about how the world should protect its forest, biodiversity, wild animals, in fact, entire ecosystem. Do let me know in the comment box. Quickly the question, consider the following statements. 1. Western Ghats is recognized as a biodiversity hotspot. 2. Activities in wildlife sanctuaries are completely prohibited without exception. And 3. Environmental clearance is mandatory for major infrastructure projects in forested areas. It could be slightly ambiguous, but you must relate it to the Forest Right Act, to the Coastal Regulation Zone, the Environmental Protection Act 1986. You must relate it to that. And now a quick reminder for those who are trying to look for such important information and UPSC inputs, you could take this QR code and join our Telegram channel. That's a growing community of UPSC learners. And a very important reminder, at StudyIQ English, we are having a massive sale for 2026 and 2027 batches, and both batches are starting on 26th of March. But right now the prices are very affordable because we want every student to try, participate and get the best of result. Like this time we have seen 200 plus selections from StudyIQ. We want to continue the legacy, in fact make it even more prominent. So therefore, now is your turn. If you want to enroll at a further discount than the offered price, use my code SPLIVE. Whether you are an English medium, a Hindi or a bilingual medium student for 27 and 28, remember the earlier you start, the better you cover the syllabus and the more confident you are. So apply for the course today and take in return a guarantee for success in the UPSC exam. Thank you.